thanks so much for agreeing to do the Zoom. It's wonderful to have you almost in person.
Right, it's only last night here.
Yeah, I'm here to tell you that tomorrow does come. How's the tour been going?
It's been going great. We've had a great time, been getting great audiences. We've been previewing up until it came out, and now our single named If This Is Goodbye is number 16 on the AC charts. And I just found out that the album is number 5 on the AC charts. So,
wow. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you about all that new music. You guys just have been on fire for such a long time. You can't put a foot wrong.
You know what? We have been on the road every year for 55 years, including the year that everyone was off for the pandemic.
How did you manage that?
We worked early in February in 2020. Our last show was in Las Vegas. And then as we were about to travel to California to continue the tour, the world shut down and didn't open up again for 15 months. So that was still a year later at the end of 2021. So we still worked every year.
Yeah, you snuck it in.
Snuck it in. Yeah.
That's awesome. 55 years. Aren't you sick of it yet?
I love playing. I love playing the trumpet. I love practicing the trumpet, and I love playing for people. And as a band, we all enjoy the same thing, playing for live audiences.
And live audiences can't get enough of you. They can't get enough of you on stage. They can't get enough of you on record either. And your love of playing the trumpet started at such an early age, didn't it?
Well, 11, if that's really early. I guess that's pretty early. And yeah, my dad asked me if I wanted to play an instrument. And at the time, I think he was just wanting me to be more of a well-rounded human being, you know, so put a little music in there. But when I told him I wanted to be a professional musician, he started trying to talk me out of it and told me that he didn't think that there was any future in that. So 55 years is doing pretty good. And before he passed, he understood that we were pretty well established and didn't seem to be going anywhere.
That's great. So did it make you a more well-rounded human being? Was he right?
I don't know. You have to ask my ex-wives. I'm not sure they would agree.
No, if they're ex-wives, they probably wouldn't.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. My kids are on my side, though.
Yeah, well, they didn't have, well, I suppose they did have to put up with you being away on the road all the time too, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Did they, I mean, did they handle it better than the wives did?
I think maybe as they were growing up and I was gone, not so much because they were there with mom, but as they saw the documentary, the 50-year anniversary documentary, they started understanding what it is that I've been doing all my life. And they had more compassion for me, I think, after that. And because they see that if you really enjoy doing something, you have to make sacrifices in order to pull it off, for you to be happy, and hopefully everyone else can be happy as well. Because I would try to bring them out on the road with me. You know, they came out when they were young, until they decided that they were too big to come out with me and they wanted to hang around with their friends. So then we were separated a lot more often. Right.
So it doesn't matter what the profession is. There comes a time when the kids don't want to be with their parents no matter what.
That's exactly right.
That's amazing. And you started with the band in 1967, and it was really special from the outset, wasn't it?
It was the most special thing was that we enjoyed playing music together, all of us, and that it remained together. Everyone had the feelings toward music, that we wanted to move further with it. We didn't want to rest on our laurels. And back then we didn't have lots of laurels.
Not too many to stand on.
You know? Yeah, we were playing clubs and stuff. So when we had a chance to record our first album, which became Chicago Authority, we were still all of the same mindset that this is the only thing we want to do. and we were moving straight ahead no matter what.
I guess it does help to have like-minded souls with you, and everybody
You
as
bet.
ambitious as the next.
And it's very difficult to find that many people to be that like-minded.
Yeah. You've had lots of incarnations across time, obviously, over 55 years, and you've lost members of the band too. But that very first album that you had, Chicago Transit Authority, it was huge, and every album of yours has been huge, but that was the one that really broke through for you, with, of course, Peter Cetera on vocals and bass. And of that album,
go ahead.
No, you keep going.
There's a couple of things about that I want to bring to your attention, and that is that 55 years later, 3 of the original 6 members, that was before Cetera joined the band, we only had 6 guys when we started playing the clubs. We're still playing now every night.
Amazing. It's amazing.
Myself, Jimmy Pankow, and Robert Lamm. So to understand that half the band is still with us 55 years later, I have to pinch myself to when I remember that. But and all of the changes that we have made through the years have only helped the band get better at a point where it needed it and needed a little boost forward. And all of these guys come in with their history of listening to our music as they were growing up. And then they're able to add their personality to those songs.
Yeah. You were responsible for bringing the brass section into the band. And of course, brass makes such a huge difference to a band, wasn't it? You were hailed as being one of the most important bands in music since the dawn of the rock and roll era. And in part, that's because you brought brass into it. What would have been
so. Yeah. Well, the brass became more of an integral part of the songs with us. Whereas everyone else were using the brass as more of accent parts and percussive type parts. But we were bringing it in as a melodic instrument, I guess. And it was as important as the vocals. And we would weave the brass in and out between vocals. The vocals would sing some, and we'd play some lines behind it. And then we'd get our own time to come out and shine. So in that way, yes, I guess we changed a few things. We had a different way of looking at music.
Was that your doing?
Jimmy Pankow started writing the brass. I have written some through the years, and I have one brass arrangement on the new album, If This Isn't Love, and which is, and also that is the only song on the album that was actually recorded by the band as a rhythm section. When I said we had our time when we got back on the road in 2021, we came early to the show one day, and I handed out the charts for If This Isn't Love, and the band played through it a few times. And then we had a basic track for the song, took it back to my studio in Arizona, and did the overdubs, and sent the song to Canada for Neil Donnell to sing it. So he sent that back, and we had a lead vocal, and then we recorded the brass at my studio and sent everything to Joe Thomas, the producer, and he mixed it all together. And
it's turned out magic.
It has turned out very nice, very nice.
Lee, what difference does brass make to a sound? It seems to me that when the brass start playing in the middle of a song or at the beginning of a song, doesn't matter, when the brass start playing, everybody's ears prick up, and it's impossible not to move your body to it. It just adds a whole new dimension to the sound, doesn't it?
Well, we hope that it will, that's for sure, because we wouldn't still be doing it if people didn't sort of prick up their ears and go, hey, that sounds a little bit different, or at least they like it. You know, I mean, when a songwriter writes a song, he hopes that anyone else besides himself likes it as much as he does. So for us to have as many songs as we do that, you know, different generations of people are enjoying, it's really an honor for us to be able to play it for them.
has the style changed over the years?
Yeah, you know, you've heard the style, and we've outlasted a lot of the styles that have come and gone in hundreds. I mean, when I look back at some of the names of the bands that were really big through, 50 years of time, it's astounding to me that we're able to withstand all of that and still be here today. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. I gotta tell you.
I bet you are
Oh,
very
yeah.
fortunate. But has Chicago's style had to change with the times, or it appears that from that first album to this, what is now the 38th album, there's not too much difference. They're still
I don't
really,
think so.
yeah.
Yeah, I think we have always looked at music as wanting to be different from one song to the next, and not try to repeat ourselves over and over again. And I think that has kept us musically involved and excited. And apparently, the audiences enjoy the same type of, change of pace from one song to the next. And I know that it's great for us on stage because you don't get tired of what's coming next. The arrangements are always interesting and not easy to play, so you have to keep practicing just to stay up, to keep up with everybody else.
Really,
And,
you keep practicing all the time?
Oh yeah, I was
Wow.
practicing before we started the interview.
What, practicing doing an interview or practicing music?
Well, the interviews, you sort of practice on the job.
Tell me about it. Absolutely. From that very first album where you had the biggest hits. Well, I don't know if they probably weren't even bigger than what they are today. It was just that they were the formative ones, weren't they?
Well, interestingly enough, the first album was an underground success. We were very popular in America, and as it turns out, we were even more popular in Europe. But AM radio in America was not playing the songs. They weren't playing the songs that we were releasing as singles, and they told us that was because we hadn't had a hit yet. And of course, you say, well, how are we going to have a hit if you don't play it? It's sort of catch-22 there.
Yeah.
And then, so we waited. We were lucky enough to record a second album, and Jimmy Pankow wrote a long 14-minute piece called "The Ballet for a Girl in Buchanan," and radio became interested in portions of that. "Make Me Smile" is the beginning section of the piece, and then at the end, it's a reprise of "Make Me Smile." They cut everything else out of that 10 minutes in between and did like 3 minutes of "Make Me Smile." That became our first hit. And another interesting fact is that the songs that we had originally released from the first album, we went back and re-released. Does anybody really know what time it is? Beginnings, Question 67, 68, and I think we released "I'm a Man" as a single as well. But the critics, for some reason, who are saying that we were underground and ahead of our time, and oh my God, these guys are really good musicians and all that stuff, they said once the songs became hits that we had sold out. We hadn't changed the note, exactly the same songs. We realized pretty early on, thank goodness, that these probably aren't the people that we should be listening to. We should just enjoy ourselves, enjoy what we're doing, and keep moving forward.
Yeah, wise decision, I'd say. Did radio have to cut down the other songs to that 3-minute timing too?
Oh yeah, the only people that were getting longer songs were the Beatles at the time. I think that la 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 went on for about 10 minutes. Right?
Yeah, which was completely unusual at the time. That's right.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So how did you react to that? Were you happy to get the airplay, because that was all important at that time?
Right, and by them editing that song down, we also realized that being played on the radio was an actual advertisement for the band. that's how you got the ads out and people knowing that you're in the business at all.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So you couldn't be without radio airplay. Nobody could make it in those days.
Nobody could. And
Yeah.
then you have to go out and play for people. They're not going to be coming to your house anytime soon.
Oh, damn. I was hoping for an invite.
Yeah, well, we have dinner. Come on in.
Yeah. Lee Loughnane, did you have a favorite song from those very early days that was your personal favorite?
Not really, because, you know, like I said, the arrangements are pretty difficult, interesting, and I like the melodies. I like everything about them. But I usually say beginnings if I pick a song, because I've always liked playing beginnings. So that's probably my fave.
You don't get sick of playing those old hits?
No, they go over every night. People want to hear them. You can, as soon as we start the intro, you can hear the reaction, and the people remembering back to where they were the first time they heard it. And then from there, it's up to us to make it sound as good as they want to hear it.
Yeah, it's a funny thing with music, isn't it, that it takes people right back to where they were when they first heard it, and they hold those memories so precious. So I would imagine that coming to your live shows these days would be those people who were there at the time of our age, and of course a whole new generation that are just discovering Chicago for the first time.
There are quite a few generations from 10 years old. Last night we played in Chicago, and there was people from 10 years old to 70 years old. It's amazing the amount of people, and all of them are singing the songs and the lyric. And especially when I see the young ones who weren't obviously even born or even thought of, still singing our lyrics and loving the music. It's an honor to be able to continue to play for them.
Yeah, well, I mean, Chicago is your hometown. You would expect the hugest reaction there. In fact, I believe that Elmwood Park dedicated a road to you called Lee Loughnane Way, which is right near your childhood home. Yeah.
Yeah, I think my sister was a little bit involved in that one too. So
was she? That's awesome.
Oh yeah, she's still living on the same street.
That's great. Oh, she must be so proud of you. That's so wonderful. So 38 albums later, you've got this new one, Born for This Moment, and the single If This Is Goodbye has just come out recently.
Mm-hmm. Now, how's it doing in Australia? Do you have any idea what's doing on the charts?
No, I'm so busy putting podcasts and radio shows together. I've got no time to follow anything.
I when I want to go see somebody else here, I'm always working.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Works, right?
Yeah, I mean, so much so that my partner's booked himself a ticket to go to Europe for a few weeks in September, and I said I can't go. I can't get that far ahead in my shows to actually take time off. It's just crazy. It's crazy. Anyway, you've got to love what you do.
Congratulations for you. that you are that busy. That's great.
Yeah, I certainly love what I do. That's for sure. And you've been on the road. I know. Let's, before we move to that, tell me a little bit more about this new album, Born for This Moment.
Well, as we were talking, we were talking about the differences in music, and we're not just set in our ways to do just one style. This album follows along in that there's ballads, up-tempo tunes, Latin, Brazilian. There's all kinds of flavors of music and tempos, and I think when you listen to it all the way through, I think you'll enjoy it. I'm surprised that we were able to complete it, because that was done in a lockdown. We were not actually able to go fly to each other, get into a studio, into the same room together and work like we normally would have. Yeah. So it was more of a songwriter's album where they presented the song that they had envisioned with their demo, I guess, and then built the song from there, just gradually, sending it to one house at a time, and they would put their part on it and send it back. Wow, that's an incredible feat, really, isn't it? Because you're a huge band. It's different if there's 3 or 4 or maybe even 5 in the band, but with so many, and it worked out so well. it is amazing to me, because usually while you were recording a certain part, a guitar part or a vocal, you're able to sit in the room with the vocalist and add something to it, or whatever. And most of the time they were on their own doing what they felt was the best thing for the song. And I guess the writers and the producer decided that to agree with them for the most part. They didn't change very much of anything as they sent the files in.
It's awesome. How brilliant. Lee, what was it like playing with the Bee Gees?
With the Bee Gees, when was that? Way back when?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well, we were recording an album at Criteria in Florida, and they were in the studio at the same time, because that was where they recorded all the time. And they asked us if we wanted to record on, I forget the name of the song.
I think I've got here that it was Stop and Too Much Heaven.
Too Much Heaven, that was it. And so we recorded that, and then we asked them if they wanted to do some vocals on our song. So they recorded on Little Miss Lovin', I think it was. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. You could see the perfection that they tried to achieve on their records. When we were recording, they had I don't know if you know what a strobe tuner is. It's this huge box about this big, and it has rotating lights. And when you play a note, it'll stop on a certain note at a pitch. And if it's flat, it starts going one way. If it's sharp, it starts going the other way. So they were amazed that we were able to pin those things where the wheels weren't moving at all. And so they were as exacting as we like to be.
Oh, so lots of synergy between you. It's good.
Yeah. And it's, you can be perfect and musical at the same time. A lot of people think that, you get too perfect, it's less musical, but not so much, not really.
And that's how you and Robert and James have always been and worked together like that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And it's always worked out. Do you, I mean, I guess you'd spend more time with each other than you would with your own families. How do you?
That is definitely true. But I think that once we go and are, I guess, of a point where it's not going to last forever. I mean, 55 years seems like forever anyway. And we are happy to be able to still be out here. But there is a time where I'm not so sure that we'll be getting together once we finish the career, because all of a sudden we'll actually have time to spend with our families, and our family, musical family, we won't be getting together anymore. But I appreciate all the time that we have had.
Can you see that time coming anytime soon?
Not so far. Our manager, Peter Chivarelli, is booking gigs for next year already, 2023.
And you're still happy to be on the road? It's not any more taxing than it used to be?
It is probably more taxing, and the travel has always been the most difficult part of it. And that remains constant. It's hard, but we put up with that to play the shows, come to people, play live. We enjoy what we're doing, or I don't think we would be able to, because that would show up on stage as well.
And everybody feels the same way? There are no dissenters in the group?
Unless they haven't told me something, I believe it's pretty much the same.
Do you have to, you'd have to kind of check in with each other every so often and go, hey, you still happy about this? You still cool with what we're doing?
Not really, because we, we talk to each other at the shows, and before and after the show. And I don't remember the last time we felt we had a bad show. I mean, some of the rooms that we play in don't sound as good as another room. So that affects how we feel about a show. But as far as wanting to go out there and get it right every time, that hasn't changed from day one.
And what about putting your set list together? There are so many tunes to choose from
Right.
every night. How do you decide that? Do you battle that out?
Not really. No, we get together or just talk it out before we come out on the road, and we have an idea of what the set list is going to be. And we try to start out on a high note. In fact, this last couple of years, we've been starting with the first song from the first album, Introduction, because it pretty much outlines everything that we do within one song, within about 5-6 minutes. And but everything that we do as a band is within that song. And then we move on from there and try to do a cross section of our entire career.
So are there some must-have? Oh, sorry. Just getting a call. So are there some must-haves in there?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Does anybody really know what time it is? Beginnings, Saturday in the Park, Make Me Smile. Got to do them every night. 25 or 6 to 4. Quite a few songs. Can't get out of the arena without playing them.
No, the audience wouldn't like that at all, would they?
They would ask why we didn't do it, that's for sure. And as it is, there are so many hits. We have like 70 hits that charted in the top 40 within, throughout the years. And there's inevitably songs that people come up and ask us about, but we can't do them all. There's no way we can stay on stage for like 7-8 hours.
No, I'm sure not.
And they wouldn't want to hang around either.
Oh, I don't know about that. What would the number one song, the top song that the audience would want to hear from you is? What would that be?
I don't know. It's a combination of all of those. If You Leave Me Now would come in there. Just You and Me. Searching So Long. You pick out a lot of the ballads because those were like summer hits, and that brought not only the women in on the hit, helping us make hits, but they would bring their boyfriends along, and the boyfriends would go along with it too, just as long as they could be with their girls, right?
So in terms,
I think they actually like the music too.
Of course they do. In terms of rehearsing. In terms of rehearsing, though, there are so many that you'd have to keep up with. How do you manage that?
Well, we've played them so many times, except for some of the newer guys, and they actually practice to live performances that we've done to get their facility up on the song, so that by the time we hit the downbeat, they already know it. And if there's something that they mess up, they just get that the next night or ask a question, and we move on. And they're able to put their personalities in to the songs that they grew up hearing themselves, and then playing along with us. And they've actually said that they feel honored to be on the stage with us, which is okay. Well, that's very nice.
Yeah,
very nice.
We had a chat with one of those young guys that had joined the band a couple of years back now, and he was definitely in that camp of feeling completely honored to be part of Chicago.
Right.
You've had lots of different lineup changes over the years, haven't you? Have you lost count of how many times the band's changed?
There have been changes through the years, but they always became a necessity. Either they didn't, they changed the mindset and didn't want to be on the road as much anymore, or there was another problem that came up that there was no choice other than to move on to someone else. It's not always something that we want to do. We would prefer that the band just stay together and we can go night to night performing and having a good time, but it doesn't always work that way in life.
No, nothing kind of works out the way you think it might, will they?
Not always, no.
No, it certainly didn't work out the way your dad thought it might.
That's right. But he was quite happy with the result.
I bet he was, yeah. I'm sure. Sometimes we just have to defy our parents and go with our gut instinct, don't we?
Yeah, if there's something that you're doing, whether it be music, podcasts, whatever it is, math even, if you all of a sudden are like feeling hungry and look at your watch and no wonder I'm hungry, it's been 8 hours since I started doing this, do that. Because inevitably people, at least one, if not many people, are going to say, you shouldn't be doing that all day long. Why don't, you know, there are many things that you can do with your life. Yeah, but I've chosen this one. You know, my thing is you stay with what you know, enjoy doing, because you'll never be unhappy. You know, you won't have to feel like you're going to work.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. Have any of your kids followed you into the profession?
They have not. They've chosen their own paths, and a couple of them sing and perform, and but not on a professional basis.
Oh, and I bet as a dad, you've endorsed whatever their choices are, given your history.
Yeah, I mean, you know, my dad tried to steer me in one direction, and he saw how well that worked. I went my own direction, so I pretty much let my kids do whatever they want to do,
Yeah,
and support them.
yeah, you're right. If you've got a passion, you've got to follow it, don't you? And
Exactly.
something that you never tire of. All the downsides of it just don't matter, because you're doing what you love.
Right, because
great.
there's going to be plenty about that job that you don't like, but if you like the main thing that you do, it won't matter.
Yeah.
You can put up with it.
Lee Loughnane from Chicago, which song would you like us to go out with from the new album? Which would you like our audience to hear?
Let's listen to If This Is Goodbye, because then we can have a focus on one song out there.
Fabulous. We'll have a listen to that now. And I thank you
Great.
so very much. It's been such a pleasure to chat with you. I'm really grateful.
Thank you.
Hopefully we find you back in Australia again very soon. Likely.
Yeah, it's been way, way, way too long.
It has.
Way too long.
We haven't got any closer, but we're still here waiting.
I know. But that's one of the problems, but you know, it'll work out.
Surmountable.
Yeah, so we got to get back there.
Thanks for
Hopefully soon, maybe next year or the
Sounds
year
good.
after. That'd be great.
Fingers crossed.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you so much, Lee. All the very best. Appreciate your time.
Same to
Bye
you.
now. Bye.
Bye.